Thank you so much, Dr. Eric, for giving me this opportunity to be a part of this wonderful series once again. Hello, everyone. I'm Shilpa Mehta, better known as Shilpa Story Rack. I am a storyteller based in Jaipur, India. I look to bring joy and laughter to others' lives through storytelling. And I have a purpose to spread stories to keep the oral tradition of storytelling alive. To know more about me and my work, you can head to my social media handles, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, by the name of Shilpa Story Rack. Today, I'll tell you a beautiful story, which I just love, which is written by Jane Yolen, which I have adapted. The Girl Who Cried Flowers. There was a woodcutter who lived with his wife. They longed for a child. Finally, their wish came true. How? Well, one day when he was cutting woods, he heard the crying of a baby. He was startled on hearing this and he looked around here and there and found a little girl nestled in the crook of a tree. He picked up that girl and ran back to his wife. Look, look, what goddess has bestowed upon us. She will be our daughter. But before that, I think we must make sure that no one is missing a child. So they went to the village and checked with the local priest whether any child is missing. Well, I don't know of anyone missing a child. So you keep this baby. She's a blessing from God and goddesses. Raise her with good care, said the priest. And indeed, they did. They named the little one Olivia, after the tree where she was found. They cared for her. She started growing up. And the woodcutter and his wife noticed a peculiar characteristic. Whenever Olivia cried, tears welled up in her eyes, as they would do in any child. But when they cascaded down her cheeks, they transformed into flowers, daisies, pansies, touch-me-not, and many more. The villagers noticed, oh, that little girl over there is crying flowers. I know. I picked up a few of them, said the old woman, and she gave some of those to the local priest. Priest, you know that woodcutter and his wife found that little girl. She cries flowers. Well, as Olivia grew, word spread. At first, the villagers thought she was strange, but they came to love her beauty and gentle giving way. People came from far and near to beg garlands, bouquets, and funeral wreaths. She would listen to their sad stories and cry. And she would cry flowers which they would take back to heal. Many times, she didn't even have to listen to a sad story. So many had been told to her of sickness, of woe, of heartbreak, of loneliness, of death. She merely had to think one, and tears, flowers, would cascade down her cheeks. People began to come from nearby towns for healing. Olivia's parents passed away, and as she grew older, she continued to share her gift of flowers. Olivia loved making people happy. One day, a young man, Panos, came from a nearby village, knocking upon her door. Young woman, I have come because I have a hearty sweetheart. Nothing will please her more than for me to bring her flowers. But you see, it's winter and I can't find those flowers. Can you please think of something sad to cry and get some flowers? What? Olivia laughed on hearing this. I have never cried flowers for someone to give as gift. She laughed. Her laughter Her laughter was like tinkling bells, water over smooth stones. And Panos just falls immediately in love with Olivia. He tells her funny stories and makes her laugh. He thought, why should I marry someone who wants a certain gift in order to be pleased? Oh, young woman, your laughter, your gift, you are one who fills my heart with something I find deeper than flowers. Will you marry me? After much pondering, Olivia agreed. They get married. They make vows to make one another laugh, to make one another happy, to bring joy to each other. Panos said, we have promised to make each other laugh, to bring joy to each other. So from now onwards, my dear wife, there's no need for you to ever cry flowers again. I promise to keep you happy. No need to cry flowers. She laughed and tears welled up in her eyes and flowers cascaded down her cheeks. That's the end of my crying. The two began a life together without the profound sadness, the weight of all those sad stories. Panos would go out to gather wood and come back late at night after hauling the wood to his customers. He would say funny things to Olivia, but sometimes she would say, I do miss all those people who used to come by. Sweetheart, 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 no need to make yourself sad. One afternoon was when Panos was off gathering wood. An old lady, a very old lady, came to see Olivia. Olivia, my granddaughter is getting married. It's winter now and she doesn't have any flowers. I don't want to bother you, but it didn't bother Olivia. She knew she just had to think of any of those old stories and she would cry flowers. But she knew that she had vowed to her husband not to cry flowers. And this mere thought caused tears to dwell in her eyes and daisies flowed down her cheeks. The old woman gathered all the flowers and left happily thanking her. It wasn't long before her friends began to come by. When the woodcutter was out, they would come to Olivia to cry flowers, and soon everyone was coming, even the local priest. Well, the man, the husband, he suspected something seeing Olivia's eyes. So one afternoon he came home early and caught Olivia crying flowers. He threw the person out of the house who was begging his wife for flowers. Olivia, you promised me that you would never cry flowers. Why are you making yourself so unhappy? But Panos, it's my gift. My unhappiness brings happiness to others. And can't you understand that? I don't understand it. I thought we were supposed to be happy. You don't understand the most profound thing about me. The goddesses have given this gift to me. And off went Olivia, leaving her husband. After a day, he realized his mistake and he went out to find her, and he only found a small hut at the edge of the village. As he opened the rose door, ouch! He cut his finger. The blood dropped to the ground and an olive tree began to grow, the trunk of which had the figure of a woman. Panos built a hut around a strange tree that bore flowers and olives all the year round. People said that the branches looked like a feminine form, and she comes down at night and she sleeps with her husband in that house. This continued on until the man passed away. And that tree no longer bloomed with all kinds of flowers, but instead just produced olives, which today bear the truth of this story. And if you would taste a ripe, lush olive, doesn't it have within it the bitter, sweet, salty taste of tears, reminding us that all of us have gifts within us? Maybe like that of crying flowers? What's your gift? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Wonderful. So one idea I get from that story is that if we have a gift, we should use it,
Yes.
right?
And what I found is that many a times when we have gift, or probably as an artist also, we are often misunderstood and not allowed to use our gift for others, or rather to bring happiness into others' lives.
Well, it's the way I understood it is that the husband, his ego was such that he didn't want, his wife to give that gift to other people.
Yeah.
Hmm. Anybody else? Any thoughts? Yes. Go ahead.
I
Well,
love this. Oh, sorry.
mhm. Go ahead.
I
I
love the
love
story. Beautiful story. We should all share our gifts and our talents to one another to make us enriched in Mother Earth. I love it. Keep up the good work. But this story made me realize how some people try to hide their gift and not share. But we need to share all around the world. God bless.
Yes.
Shilpa, I'd be very interested in knowing how you worked with the story. How did you, redo it or adapt it? I haven't read this, so you did a great job with it. So I just want to know.
That's a
Well,
good question. How did you modify the story?
well, uh, I made a few changes, not a lot, because I didn't want to lose the essence of the story. Yes, but it talks more about Olivia's life. It talks more about how he goes about healing others
Okay, okay,
and how her husband suppresses her or doesn't allow her to use her gift.
okay.
In a way, he was trying to control her. So I have not used those parts, but yes, I have just modified it a bit, and I hope I have tried to keep the essence of the story.
And in contrast, her parents or her adoptive parents were very giving, weren't they?
Yeah.
They didn't they didn't stop the child from giving flowers to anybody.
Yes. Initially, yes, they didn't notice this, but then slowly and gradually they started noticing that there is something peculiar about her. And when she's doing that, she is helping others. So they didn't stop her. Yeah.
there?
There's something in the story, Shilpa, about living up to your name. Olivia, did she transform into an olive tree? Is that what happened?
Well, no, like it is said that, and like, yes, it was said that the tree, it took that feminine form. Yes. So the tree looked, yes, more of, resembled a feminine form. And again, it bore not only olives, but it bore others as well as olives.
I love the connection between the olive, the saltiness of the olive and her tears.
Yes, that is something, yes, which I added. Yeah, those, yes, that is like, you can say my script, but yes, it was there that the tree, after the husband died, the tree stopped bearing all the other flowers, but only bore olives.
It really makes me wonder, what significance our name has to our lives.
Yeah. And she was found in the crook of olive tree, and that's why her parents named her Olivia.
Thank you.
But that's an interesting thought, Alistair.
And the author also leaves you with certain things to ponder upon. And like whenever I think, whenever you tell a story, the meaning, how you perceive it, lies with the listener and not with the teller.
Right.
Well, for example, what do you ponder about the story after telling it, Shilpa?
Oh, yes. That something which I really, like I told you, that if you have a gift and if you know that sharing it can make a difference in someone else's life, even if it's like a drop in the ocean, don't hesitate. Don't think, oh, what difference am I going to make? You never know what your little or insignificant help, insignificant, which you think, which you perceive, can make a difference in someone else's life. So, whatever you have, just share. Don't keep things to yourself. And this is why even I believe that, yes, if I can bring happiness in someone else's life through my stories, through my telling, because when I've told a few stories, I have got certain responses when people have come up to me and said that your story made us change our thought process. And I have always felt that, yes, I have done my job. And this is why I always believe that stories, they not only educate, they not only entertain, but they do have the power to change, to inspire, and to heal the world.
So do I understand correctly? After she left her husband, she took the form of a tree, and he also lost his human form?
No. He started staying there.
Oh,
He had built a hut and he started staying near that tree.
Uh-huh.
So that was sort of, he was repenting.
Uh-huh.
But why? Yeah. So that was a way of staying close to his wife. And the tree, like I told, that it was bearing olives and all the other flowers. But when the husband died, so the feminine form was gone, and from then onwards, the tree only started bearing olives and not other flowers.
Yeah, does someone want to say anything?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Hi, this is Nayana. Thank you. Your story did move me. I loved how it was a story about something far away that I don't experience. It was a nice story, like a fairy tale. And at the end, when you said, "What does it mean to you? What's your gift?" I thought that was a beautiful, gentle way. it wasn't a moral. It was asking me to take that story inside. And I call that story magic, but I really like it a lot. And I thought that you said that at night she came to her husband, and that in the daytime she was in the olive tree. So could you clarify that little part?
Well, it was said like in the story, it's like, when people started gossiping that, oh, like some old lady, they would gossip that, oh, I saw that she came every night, that the tree spirit came every night and stayed with the husband. Oh, I should have mentioned this. Yes, sorry.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. It was beautifully told.
Yeah.
And all of us have been put down for our art or criticized for our art. And it's a beautiful story. For me, it means that even though someone might not like what I'm doing, it's still good. Thank you.
Thank you.
It seems that when he, criticized her and forbade her to use her gift, then he lost the privilege of really living with her full time.
Yes.
Mm.
And so that's why he had built a hut there, a small hut, and he stayed there. So it was like staying with his wife, staying close to his wife.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. So where's that story? Oh, she made up that story. Jane Yolen, she created that story. Is that correct?
It's in a book actually, and I read this book quite long time ago, almost 3-4 years back. But there are various stories in that book, and somehow this story stayed with me, and I call these sticky stories, which stick. And I always wanted to share this story, so I thought, yes, why not? And yes, of course, because I read it a long time back, and so, but yes, whatever was there in my mind. So, and then I connected everything, because again, I couldn't get hold of that book. I was not in India. I read it at someone's place
Great.
abroad. So yeah. So, but then I thought, okay, then why not add my storytelling element in that? Why not add some my magic and then end it the way I wanted?
Wonderful. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Great. Okay, Susan, Ida, are you ready?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much, Eric.
Wonderful. Please introduce yourself fully and tell us about your work. And you're going to tell a story, the strike at Putney. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is correct.
Please tell us about it. Tell us about the story, and then please tell us the story.
Okay. First of all, Shilpa, thank you very much. That was wonderful. And thank you also, Eric, for being here. Lucy Maud Montgomery, I'm going to put, with your permission, Eric, I will put some information into the chat after I do my telling about Lucy Maud Montgomery. And Lucy Maud Montgomery wrote a story in 1903. She's a Canadian author about this story, the strike at Putney. And so I'm going to enter into it and explain at the same time. In 1903, women did not have the vote in Canada. In 1903, women were not legally acknowledged as persons in Canada. In 1903, in Canada, the Christian religion dominated, and it was steeped in patriarchism. And in 1903, Lucy Maud Montgomery wrote a story entitled The Strike at Putney. Now, as we enter into the story, what we find is that there are many churches, places of worship. And there are places of worship that are in debt. There are places of worship where the clergyman, who was always a man, the religious person, well, he could barely wait to get out of that church because the parishioners were so critical of him. There were churches where, oh my heavens, the bickering among the parishioners was just phenomenal. And there were churches where there was hardly any committees to do the work of the church. And these committees were often worked by women. It was the elders of the church that had the last say, the final decision making, and they were the men. Now, there was one exception, and that was the church at Putney. Oh, my heavens, that church. Everybody got along. There was no debt. There was no criticism. The clergymen were just loving it being there. Everything was fine. And they had committees on everything. They had committees to deal with children. They had committees to deal with who put the flowers up, who cleaned the church. Oh, there was committees galore. And included in that was the missionary committee. Now, the missionaries' work was basically a missionary would go to a geographic area where people didn't really know about that particular Christian faith group and try to convert them. And there was one person who did that exceptionally well, she and her group, and that was Mrs. Cotterwell. Well, the women at the Putney Church decided that they would like Mrs. Cotterwell to come and speak to them, and they knew that Mrs. Cotterwell was very well liked and that her presentation would be attended to by many in the surrounding area. So they decided that it needed to be in the church, in the place of worship. So they sent out an invite to Mrs. Cotterwell. Mrs. Cotterwell was absolutely thrilled and said she could attend on a certain day, which was a Sunday, at a certain time. The women did look at the church calendar, and there was nothing, absolutely nothing on the calendar at that particular time, on that particular day. And so they assumed, wouldn't you? They assumed that it would be fine, be absolutely fine. And so they proceeded then not only to invite Mrs. Cotterwell and confirm that she could attend, but also to invite all of the churches in the surrounding area. And of course, the response was overwhelming. So you can imagine their shock, their absolute shock, when the elders of the church and the clergymen, all men, said, absolutely not. Mrs. Cotterwell cannot present her missionary work, about her missionary work in the church. Absolutely not. Well, the women gathered together. They had a meeting. What can we do? This is absolutely ridiculous, said one. You'd think we were back in the dinosaur era, said another. We've invited all of these people. The church is going to be packed. And now we have to uninvite everybody. This is absolutely ridiculous. You know, said one, if that clergy of ours had just gotten married, we could speak to the wife, but he's not married, so we can't do that. And on and on and on the discussion went. Finally, somebody said, we have to do something. Now, I want you to just picture everybody that I'm looking at here in the audience. I just want you to picture or place yourself in a position that you're in an environment where you can't even vote. You're not really deemed to be persons. What would you do? Now, if there are some of you that think, I would go on strike. Well, you're absolutely right, because that's what those women did. They went on strike. Now, there was an interesting fact, and the interesting fact is that many of the women in the committees were married to men who were in the elders, who were elders. And so obviously there was a lively discussions going on in quite a few households. Now, after the women had met, there was one household where the elder was sitting for tea with his wife, who had just come from the meeting. And he was looking at her. They had a lively, to put it mildly, discussion before she went to the meeting. And he looked at her. Now he noticed something. He noticed that the jam that she served was the jam that he really liked. And the scones were well made. The tea was at the temperature that he liked. And he took encouragement from that. And he thought to himself, oh, I wonder how that meeting went. And so he asked, how was the meeting? Oh, it went quite well, she said. Quite well. Yes, quite well. Is the tea to your liking? Oh, yes, it is, he said. Silence. He said, so the meeting went well. I'm just curious, like, what happened? What occurred? Oh, she said. Oh, about the meeting. Yes, he said, about the meeting. What happened was that we decided that women have no place in the business affairs of the church. You've what? He said. Oh, yes, we have decided that women have no place in the business affairs of the church. How marvelous, he said. How absolutely marvelous. You know, after tea, I will go to the store and I will get the flour. Flour, darling? Why would you be getting flour? Well, I mean, I'll be getting the flour. I mean, I wasn't really paying attention, but you know, we purchased that carpet for the church, and you women said that you're going to do like a bake sale. I really can't remember, but whatever it was, my job was to get the flour. So I will go and get the flour. Oh, she said, you needn't bother. I needn't bother. No, you absolutely needn't bother, she said. Why is that? Well, she said to her husband, I just explained, women have no business in the business affairs of the church. And the debt is the church business. And the baking is also the church business because it's for the church. So if you men decide that you want to bake, well then, very good. Now, these types of conversations were happening in all the different types of households. And the men then got together. Yes, they did. And they had noticed something which was a bit unusual. I mean, the women still attended their business meetings, but they didn't volunteer to do anything. I mean, as a matter of fact, they didn't even speak. They just kind of sat there like a sponge, but not given anything. Highly, highly unusual. The men decided that this would pass. And so Sunday came, and Sunday was the day of worship. Some men noticed it immediately going into the church, and others it was a bit slow. But that church had dust. The dust was everywhere you looked, there was dust. There was some scraggly, dried up flowers in a vase. It just looked appalling. And one of the elders was sitting beside his daughter and looked at his daughter and says, I don't understand. Where are all the flowers? The flowers, Father? Yes, the flowers. Where are they? I don't understand. There's only these dried up flowers there. I mean, usually we have fresh flowers for service. Oh, she said, well, the flowers have to do with the business affairs of the church. And you see, we've decided the flower committee because we don't deal as women with the business affairs of the church. You have what? He said. It was very, very good that they were in a church. Very good. The person from the choir who was leading the choir came down to the pews because the sopranos, the women who sang sopranos, were in the pews. They weren't in the choir. Yes. He couldn't understand why. And again, he was told that since women do not have any business in the business affairs of the church, they would not be attending the choir. And on and on and on it went. Well, a few days more passed, and the men met again. Yes, they did. And they discovered that each one of them had now become a laughingstock outside the area of Putney. I mean, men would strike up conversations with them and then all of a sudden just break out in smiles followed by roaring laughter. And sometimes they would point. Those are the men whose women in the Putney church are on strike. And so a decision was made. And that coming Sunday, they got together at the service, all the parishioners. And about 3/4 of the service was through, and one of the elders stood up and made the announcement. that Mrs. Cotterwell could indeed come to the church, that Mrs. Cotterwell could indeed do her presentation from the church. And the women smiled, and they were very pleased. And going out the door, you could hear the conversations, all of the conversations about what to do now to pay off the carpet, what to do in order to clean up the church. Oh, indeed, the strike at Putney was over. In 1903, women in Canada did not have the vote. And in 1903 in Canada, women were legally not recognized as persons. But in 1903, there was a Canadian author by the name of Lucy Maud Montgomery. And she wrote that story in a time where Christianity was throughout Canada and steeped in patriarchy. And she wrote a story about women that, in my opinion, though it is said is fictional, claimed their voice. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Wonderful.
Would it be okay if I put the links in the chat, Eric?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Can I say something, Dr. Eric?
Yes, go ahead.
Dr. Susan, I have heard you on another platform when I was in San Francisco, and I've heard this story also from another storyteller there. I simply like this. I like the story very much, but I simply loved your rendition of it. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you. She's quite an incredible author. I mean, she was born in 1874 and she died in around 1942. And she received all sorts of awards during the time that she was alive, right up until after she died in 2024 in Canada. A coin was made in her honor. So she continues to like trailblaze, even though she's not, she's not physically present. And she's incredible. She was a very generous person. But to write that kind of story at that time, the courage in my mind was just amazing. Mm-hmm.
So that actual church is not a historical.
The whole story is fictional. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I guess it led to a lot of discussion when it was published.
I can't imagine that it didn't. Really can't. No, I just cannot imagine that it did not. Mm-hmm. But she has written over 500 stories, plus poetry. Yeah. And she did that during a time there was no AI, she was an amazing author. She was just absolutely amazing. Mm-hmm.
Susan, I think your telling is very timely, particularly because Susan Mullally has just recently been declared Archbishop of Canterbury. So I think perhaps things are changing, although I understand she's still an outlier in most churches around the world who perhaps would not recognize a woman as a high figure of authority in the church.
Yeah. Well, that's what just... I'm in awe of her that she would write such a story during that time, because it was so steeped in the patriarchy of that time. And like you said, presently here we are in 2025. And again, there's not all of that acceptance like worldwide, as you were stating, right? For that particular church. So
it's interesting that the date 1903 coincides with the Emmeline Pankhurst and the suffragette movement in England.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
There must have been something going on in the stars during that year.
I know there was a lot. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, there was
Exciting
a whole
times.
movement. I mean, women didn't get the vote in Canada. I think it was 1916, the first time they were legally got the vote. And this story was written in 1903, so there had to be that kind of backwell of buildup, in order to reach that time of 1916.
The position Alistair was just referring to is, I believe this lady was the first woman to be appointed the head of the Church of England. Is that correct? The Protestant
Yeah.
Church of England.
Mm-hmm.
And already there have been some, complaints from people within the English Church that they don't want a woman to be head of the church.
Mm-hmm.
This was a very, very interesting, good, logical history of women. I have studied on it, but I heard of her name, but I really didn't know exactly what she had done. My thing is, did she ever got in trouble with the men of doing these things, of writing these books about Putney? The women, they was like Pandora's box. They couldn't do certain things in any country. Okay. I wish that they would bring that out to understand the hardship that this woman went through, and the women wanted to vote because they thought they had the right to vote. What was the issue? Okay, I think that would be a good discussion in a storytelling position, and see what the reaction from people. Thank you, Susan, for bringing that story. I have learned a lot in just a few seconds. Thank you. Blessings.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll proceed to the next teller, which is Vinita. Vinita, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
And you have chosen a very challenging story to tell, the story of Gita Govinda, which is a poem from the 12th century. I believe the English translation is the Song of the Cowherds. And you're going to tell it in English, right?
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay. I'm going to magnify your image and yes, please tell us about your work and your history with this story, and then please tell us the story.
Okay. Thank you. Namaste. So I'm Vinita Bhatnagar. I live in Bhopal. I'm a professor of communication and a storyteller. And I really thank Eric because what had happened in the previous 1 month, 2 months, I think I've not been telling stories, and I was beginning to feel it. And then suddenly his message came and I remembered, oh my God, I've signed up for this, but I haven't prepared. So what am I going to do? But this is a divine story, and it's a story of Radha and Krishna. And I said, well, Krishna will come to my aid. It's a story from the 12th century. I'm going to try and deliver it in 3 voices. I probably will not be able to, like I said, I haven't practiced. But the question that I want to start with, and I'd like you all to think about, is what is it that your heart longs for? What is it? Is it a person? Is it a time? And so I'm putting in that question, what is it that your heart longs for? Because the story that I'm telling you is the Gita Govinda, and it's the story of Radha's longing, yearning for Krishna. And before this, Radha had come in some of the scriptures, but never ever in this particular form, as a character, as a person. So here we are, and I start. Okay, so you love stories, huh? You want to hear a love story? I'll tell you a love story. It's an eternal love story. The story of Radha and Krishna. Radha, Krishna, Krishna, Radha, Radha, Krishna. Two names, one essence. Two bodies, one soul. Both of them. Joy and bliss, Sham. Bliss in joy, Sham. And the story begins. The story begins on a dark night. You know, there were clouds in the sky, and there was thunder and lightning, and Krishna, playful Krishna, mischievous Krishna, he says to Radha, Radha, I feel afraid. Take me home. And Radha takes him by his hand and leads him through the forest, through the bowers. And on the banks of the river Yamuna, you can see it behind me. This is where they were. And what can I tell you what they did? It makes me blush. But they fell in love. Let's put it like this. They fell in love. Ah, love, love, love. All the world is young when you're in love. It was spring. It was cuckoos chirping and singing. And there were, bees buzzing and flowers bursting into flames and beautiful. The whole forest was alive. Peacocks dancing. Everything was so beautiful, so joyous. The love of Radha and Krishna. And when Krishna looked at Radha, you know those lotus eyes of his? She was like a flower that just bloomed. And she felt so happy and the most beautiful woman in the world until... What can I tell you? Don't tell the others I said this, but Krishna was a bit of a player. There were other women in the village in Vrindavan, and they asked him to come and play the flute, and off he went. And he's playing the flute and they're dancing. What dancing? Shameless hussies. You know what they were doing? Pressing in on him, kissing him, fondling him. What do you think Radha would do? Poor Radha. Radha saw all this and then she just walked off. That's it. She said, this is it. I'm going. I can't take this anymore. What's the point? What's the point of anything? And she should have gone back home. You know what? She should have gone back home. She should have just left them all behind and gone back home. But she can't leave him. She loves him. She doesn't want to live without him. She wants to live with him and without those women. And Radha's walked away. But she does hope he'll come after her. Is he coming? Can you hear footsteps? Is he coming? He's not coming. What if he doesn't come? What if he's forgotten her? What does it mean to promise and to talk about love and eternity if this is how fast it goes? And what is Radha going to do? You do know, of course, that she's married to another man. The whole village, her mother-in-law, everybody knows what's happening. She's risked everything. Shame, humiliation, all for Krishna. But to be honest with you, to be really honest with you, it's been worth it. She loves him. She has no choice. It's not a choice she made. She had no choice. Her heart, he's taken her heart. But is it fair? Is it fair to take her heart and play with it? To break it? Is it fair, I ask you? What is she supposed to do with this pain in her heart? Should she just kill herself? People have. Women have. Somebody go call him. Tell him my state. And so her friend goes, calls Krishna. Krishna comes. Radha's waiting, looking. What if he doesn't come? But when he comes, what do you think she does? Does she run to him? Not at all. She looks at him and she turns away. And she says, Krishna, why have you come? Why have you come to me, Krishna? Why not to those women with those heavy breasts and the long hair and the slim waist? You love them so much. Why me? Go. I don't need you, Krishna. Go away. And Krishna's just standing there. And he's begging her to forgive him. But she won't forgive him. And she keeps on and on. Oh, men, be careful. beware the fury of a woman scorned. And at some point, the friend walks in and she says, Radha, what are you doing? Radha, this is Krishna, the one you love. When he comes to you, you speak like this, you castigate him. When he goes away, you say, I'm going to die. I've had enough. You please sort this out between you. And so Radha turns to Krishna and says, okay, say, what do you want to say? And Krishna says to her in Sanskrit, Priye Charushile, Charushile, Charushile. My beloved, you are my life. You are the pearl, you are the precious jewel in the ocean of bliss. How can you even imagine? It's all in your imagination. Is he gaslighting her? It's all in your imagination that I'm in love with those women. They're my friends. They call me. They ask me to play the flute. I play the flute, but I close my eyes and I think only of Radha. I open my eyes and I see only Radha. Radha, how can you doubt me? How can you turn away from me? Yes, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. But I love you, Radha, and if you leave me now, I will be standing here forever. Please don't leave me. Don't turn away from me. Turn towards me. Let's work this out, Radha. Radha, look into my eyes. Radha, could I be lying to you? And you're jealous. You feel pain. But do you remember, Radha, when you used to come back to the village and when you would go away to your husband and your family and I would cry and say, Radha, don't go? You went, Radha. I felt pain too. And you said, oh, don't be childish. Who's being childish now, Radha? You said to me, we belong to each other. These social roles and relationships and rituals, they don't count. We count. We know each other. We have known each other over lifetimes. We have met again and again and again. And Krishna, his voice, his face, his beauty, his sweetness, the words that he speaks are like the music that he plays. And Radha is melting. And anyway, she's given him her heart anyway, and she can't even take it back. She doesn't want it back. What did she do with it? Give it to that Scrooge of a husband. And so she melts. And when she melts, he lays her down on a bed of flowers, and he brushes back her hair, and he kisses the kajal away, smudges it from her eyes, and they are lost in the bliss of love. In the morning, they can hear the friends and they've got to get ready. And she says to him, because now she's a different kind of Naika. You know, the longing, the yearning, the distress, the despair, gone. She knows she's got him where she wants him. He loves her. And so she says to him, dress me up. And he does, with a lot of love. He dresses her up, puts flowers in her hair, sprinkles scent on her, fragrance on her, combs her hair, puts her clothes all around her perfectly well, and she is satisfied, she is happy. Their love returns as it was, deeper than it was, because sometimes we need that trouble, that little bit of conflict to make our love worthwhile. And the story of Radha and Krishna from the 12th century in the Geet Govinda has continued to this day. Every evening it is sung and danced to in the Jagannath Puri temple in Orissa. Radha, Krishna, Krishna, Radha. Eternally separated, eternally united. And it is a metaphor too for everything that we desire. Because in the end, you know, when her friends come to find them, they find that Radha has become Krishna. And whatever we long for, whatever we yearn for, we become. Thank you. Namaste.
Okay, thank you very much. Hmm.
And I would really love to know what your heart yearns for. If you can chat, put that in the chat. That's really lovely. It's the whole nature of yearning that interests me.
And yearning to connect with the universe in some mystical sense. Hmm. Sharda, did you want to say something? You have to turn your mic on. No, your mic is off.
I felt I was looking at both of them in one form.
Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you. Thank you so much.
It was so sweet, so full of love, so joyous and blissful. Very nice.
Thank you so much, Adaji, because I like to do it offline because then I get everybody dancing and do the Ras Leela. But here I was worried about, if I bring in music, it might create problems. So thank you. If you felt it, I'm so glad.
Very nice. I can imagine how it must be otherwise.
Thank you so much.
Very nice. Thank you.
Those who are not from India, I'll just explain that Krishna is one of the avatars of Vishnu. So Vishnu, Shiva and Brahma, these are our three gods, and Vishnu is the one who takes form again and again. So one of the forms is Krishna, and Krishna is the lover. All others are very good people, but Krishna is a bit naughty too, and he's the lover who has he has 16,000 wives, I think. So he is the one that frankly, Radha is the one character. I mean, Susan, because I also have read so much on feminism. So Radha is one character that I never really understood, because here she's known only for her longing and desire for Krishna, and Krishna never comes. So, but then this year I started to see, and she's the goddess, she's the Shakti, she's the power of Krishna, and she is the goddess of longing, and somebody who doesn't run away from her pain and from her yearning, but she embraces it, she accepts it, and she lives with that. So I think I began to understand Radha a lot more as I worked on this story.
Krishna so lovable.
Jnana, there are other stories of Krishna. Surprisingly, he's one character who the girls always come to him and say, please elope with me. And then he takes them away. So he has other wives, but the same thing happened. They come to him and they say, I'm being married off to so-and-so, please take me away. And there is also a beautiful story about, he's a Sakha, he's also a friend to Draupadi in the Mahabharata. And Draupadi, when she is being, Yudhishthira is taking away, not Yudhishthira, sorry, Duryodhana is taking away, pulling at her sari, and she keeps calling out to Krishna for help, but he, doesn't come till a certain point, and then the sari just keeps becoming endless, and he just can't take off the sari. And later she scolds him and she says, why didn't you come? I called out to you, I called you Madhav, Keshav, I called you by all your names. Why didn't you come? And he said, until you called me Sakha. You're the only person who calls me Sakha. Sakha is a friend. So, when you called out Sakha, I knew who was calling me. And I came to save you. So, Krishna is, I think, a woman's god.
Alistair and then Priyanka.
Vinita, I thought you did a beautiful job of the voices and telling the story. You really brought it to life. I'm fascinated by the eternal dance of the soul longing to be united with the divine. What is it in our life that makes it easy for us to love another, but so hard to love ourselves? It's almost as if we need to love our opposite, to love our shadow. That somehow by uniting ourselves to our shadow, we fall in love with ourselves, or something like that. I'm not really sure I understand.
Alistair, that's a very interesting point. I mean, I don't have an answer for that, but I think that's really interesting for two reasons. Of course, like I said, Radha is Krishna, Krishna is Radha. Krishna goes away from Vrindavan at some point, and because he has a destiny, and he never plays the flute again. He used to play the flute, he never plays it again, because the flute belongs to Radha as much as it does to Krishna. And when Krishna goes away, everybody cries. They try to stop his chariot from going, and then he sends back somebody to explain to them. And that person tells them all kind of mystical and metaphysical things, but then realizes that these women really love Krishna in the way, because they're now seeing Krishna everywhere. He's in the trees, he's in the breeze, he's in the flowers, he's in the water. They don't need to close their eyes. He tells them, close your eyes, you'll see him in your heart. They say, we don't need to close eyes. We see him in each other. But I think the larger point that you're making, which I really love, because it's something, I don't know, I'm getting goosebumps because you asked this, because it's something that I kind of do to myself now, is when I'm singing a song and then I realize, well, I could be singing this to myself, because there is a self that maybe just like Radha feels deserted, there is a self that has been, and a self that has been deserted, and maybe the time for the reconciliation and the reunion and the bliss is now. So it's a good reminder. Yeah, thank you.
May I add?
Yeah.
Krishna takes, I believe, many avatars. He, the incarnation of, there is a, I wouldn't say incarnation, but Vitova, the Vitova of Vitova Rakhmai, where my parents used to live, where we worship. Just today I had gone, and that is one avatar of Krishna. Then there is they say that Ram was another avatar. So he's taking different avatars. That is the knowledge I have. And I had done one story where they pray to him, and with the help of tulsis. And also there is a story in mythology. I won't go into it now, but I really loved your story.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so it's Vishnu who takes many avatars, one of which is and in Geet Govinda there's a song which is actually about the many avatars, the tortoise, and then the fish, and then Buddha is also considered as an avatar. What I found interesting about Krishna is that the yearning for Krishna is not just by women. Even our male poets, they are yearning and crying and saying, Krishna does not come, Krishna does not come. And centuries after Krishna, there was Mirabai, who again never knew him, never met him, but she went, she was a Prem Divani. So and there was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it's men, women, everybody who is so enamored of Krishna and who's calling out for Krishna and saying, Krishna come. And for me, it also becomes a bit of becoming Krishna, through the yearning for Krishna, becoming Krishna.
I think Jaydev also, he has written so many Ashtapadis.
Yes, precisely. Jaydev is, then I forget the name of the poet.
Govinda is written by Jaydev only.
Yes, Jayadev, the 12th century Odia poet. Also there is, I'm forgetting right now, but the person who wrote Madhur Ashtakam, and then Tukaram, there's so many male poets. There was a particular tree where Radha would go, it seems, in Vrindavan when she was angry. And it was called the Man. Man is the self-respect tree. So she would go there and he would know that she's angry, and he would go and reconcile with her. And I'm told that there are saints who still go there, sit under that tree and weep. And because they're weeping for Krishna, desiring, yearning, and asking for Krishna to come to them. So Krishna does seem to have that effect on people.
May I say something, Vinita? Hi, Vinita.
Sure,
this is Pratibha here.
Hi. Yes. Hi.
Yeah, that was a beautiful story. And as far as Radha seeking the opposite is concerned, like It was mentioned by one of the storytellers here. So, what more pleasure can there be to seek the union with the divine? Like, it's not abandoning self. That's what I feel. Like, it's the union with the divine. So, that's why we see that even the male saints, like the saints who are male or female, doesn't matter, but they weep for Krishna. So
Yes.
that's the pleasure of the union with the divine. So aligning with the divine is the ultimate. So
Ab-
it's not abandoning the self, but it is enhancing the self by the union. So it's a
Yes,
very
absolutely. Absolutely. So once you've abandoned to come back to the self, the union with the yeah, that's exactly what I
yeah,
meant.
it's not abandoning at all. Like
Huh.
it's like enhancing yourself. Like first in bhakti also, like you
Huh.
first have self realization and
Yes.
then you go for God realization, divine
Yes.
realization. So
Yes.
it's a path actually.
Okay. Also,
So
when you talk about this, I'm thinking of again the names escapes me, but there was somebody who, a Muslim person who, he wanted to make shoes. Why am I forgetting? I have the Raskan. So Raskan wanted to make. He saw a picture of the child Krishna with torn shoes, and he went everywhere looking for Krishna, and Krishna came to him all kinds of forms, and nobody allowed him into the temple. And then Krishna comes like a child, and it's also Krishna comes to you in the form that you're looking for him. So for the gopis, he comes in the form of the divine lover who's playing the flute. And but for Arjun, he comes as the charioteer who gives him the advice and helps him win. So Krishna takes that, the form in which you're looking for him. Yeah.
yes, yes, very, very true. So he's a sakha, he's a lover,
Yeah.
and what this is the best way to solve the conflicts also between the two lovers.
Huh.
Like the other lover counterpart, he needs to come and ask what's the problem, and he needs to talk it out. So this
Huh.
is what was done here in the story. So that was very beautiful. Krishna knows everything.
And sometimes I ask myself, with so many people saying, Krishna doesn't come, Krishna doesn't come. Why does he do this? But the point is that desire that is being created and the thought, the obsession with Krishna, it's its own magic. So when he comes, he comes. But, just that yearning itself is its own magic, and it makes you grow in a different way. And I think
Absolutely.
that's what's happening with Radha too.
Yes, yes, yeah, getting shaped into something more nice,
Yeah.
something divine.
Yeah. So.
Priyanka, did you want to say something?
Eric, I wanted to, but I am having goosebumps with the performance storytelling and with all the thoughts and ideas that have been shared by the listeners. I'm so glad that I'm here and I got a chance to listen to Vinita. Thank you, Vinita.
Thank you.
I think the devotion itself is moksha. The devotion itself, as you said, is moksha, and so many life lessons in one story. I was with some thought when you asked what do we yearn for, and it just shaped as I flowed with the story. I would just let it be and not discuss any further. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
This mythological story, like all mythological stories, can be taken on many different levels. For people within the actual religion, it is a devotional story in relation to the divine figure Krishna. But for those not in that religious system, or even people who don't think about the divine, it's still a story about the connection with the cosmos, with the universe, and one's place in the universe, and finding one's place and connecting with the larger picture. So it can be taken on that level also.
Yes,
I'll
and
make
I
a
am really definitely interested in those who are not within the Indian tradition and how they take the story. Simon Brooks, I made him listen to an episode on my podcast, and I was blown away because he said, "Oh, she asks too much of Krishna. I had never thought of that. So see, she's asking too much of him. She wants him to understand. I was like, oh my God, I never thought of this. That that Radha's asking so much. So it's very interesting when people outside the religious devotional context listen to the story and given their inputs and insights and reactions.
And as I say, it doesn't, to appreciate that story and to get something from it, one does not even have to have a sense of the divine.
Okay.
One can just have a sense of connection with the cosmos, with the universe, and finding one's place in the big picture.
Okay. Yeah.
He's omnipresent. Omnipresent. He's present everywhere.
Omnipresent.
Bhavani's put in this thing about if we look at it in a feminist way, how do we know that this guy is not cheating? That's what I said, that, we somehow, I grew up knowing that I didn't want to be a Radha because she's so insecure. I mean, she's always jealous, she's insecure because he's so popular with the women. But as Pratibha is saying and Priyanka is saying, it's also about, I think, Eric might also agree with me. It's also about love doesn't have to have those, those boundaries or walls that I can love you but cannot love anyone else. And love is love, and let it flow and let it transcend. And she was married, so she was parikriya. It's in the Natya Shastra. There are different kinds of nayikas, and she is the parikriya nayaka, which is the one who is married to somebody else. So. So I now do not definitely see him as a cheater at all. I see him as somebody who fulfills longing. And if you ask for him, if you long for him, but you must ask. And you must, really want him, then he comes.
You want him, and also without being possessive about him.
Yes. Because he disappears. If you get possessive, he disappears, which is probably what happened with Radha. Then he disappears. But his disappearing and his appearing, wo hazir bhi hai or gayab bhi, he's there, he's not there. So it's keeping you thinking.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Eric, for this chance. I feel so much better about this story now.
Good. Great. Okay, Shaheen, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, this is a change of pace. You're going to tell the story of Scheherazade, right?
Right.
Wonderful. Okay, I'm going to magnify your image, and please tell us about your work, and please tell us a story.
Thank you, Eric. So my name is Shaheen Maniar. I live in Pune, a very cultural city very close to Mumbai. I'm a corporate facilitator, so I facilitate design thinking, communication, leadership, and storytelling, honestly, is a passion for me. I've been listening to stories since I was a child. My bedtime stories consisted of stories from the 1001 Nights, and that's why this book, as you would call it, is very, very close to me. My grandparents would, I remember my grandfather would sit in the afternoon reading the stories, and then at night, bedtime, he would tell me these stories. So, yeah, I love listening to stories, and we've had some amazing storytellers before me. So I'm going to try my best. Friends of the night, gather close, for I shall tell you a tale of sorrow and wisdom, of cruelty and compassion, and of the power of words that conquer even a tyrant's heart. Long ago, in a land where the desert kissed the horizon and the palaces sparkled like gems under the moon, there lived two brothers, mighty kings, Shahryar and Shah Zaman. Their kingdoms stretched far and wide. Their armies were big, and their treasuries were overflowing. But what is gold to a man whose heart is broken? One day, Shah Zaman found out that his queen had betrayed him. In a fit of anger, he ended her life. When his brother Shahryar found out, he went to comfort his brother. But he too discovered that his own wife had betrayed him. And so, two kings, once just and kind, had their hearts shattered like glass beneath a hammer. Shahryar, the elder of the two, let his grief curdle into madness. All women are faithless, he declared. And from that day, he decreed a terrible, terrible custom. Each day, he would take a new bride. And with the rising of the sun the next day, she would be put to death. This cruel decree was carried out with the help of his vizier, Jafar, a loyal servant of the throne. Day after day, daughter after daughter, the kingdom wept. The mothers wailed, the fathers cursed their fate. And the streets grew empty of laughter. In the king's madness, the kingdom became hostile, a very hostile place for young women. Families fled, taking their daughters away from this kingdom as the king continued with his rage-filled murders. Days turned to weeks, weeks into months, and Jafar continued carrying on his task with a heart as heavy as stones. For my friends, he too was the father of daughters. But remember, my friends, patience is the key to relief. And it came from where no one had imagined. Jafar's eldest daughter, Scheherazade, she was not an ordinary woman. She was learned in poetry, wise in philosophy, and gifted with a tongue that could spin stories like a weaver spins silk. She said to her father, "Give me to the king. I shall be his bride." You, my friends, can imagine the way Jafar was taken aback. "No," he said, trembling. "You would be walking into death." He cajoled, he pleaded, he even threatened his daughter. But to no avail. Once he realized that his daughter's mind had been made up, with a heart broken into two, he gave her to the king. That night, after the wedding feast, Scheherazade turned to the king with a small request. "My king, allow my sister Dunyazad to stay with me this night. Perhaps it will be my last." The king was a little upset, but there was no way for him to say no. So he reluctantly agreed. When the moon rose high Dinyarzad, as was planned between the sisters, she whispered to her sister, before the dawn breaks and it takes you away, tell us a story. One last story, please, she pleaded. And so Scheherazade began. She spun a tale that wound long and deep, a river of words that was carried to the king. The king had been hardened by grief and he listened with a furrowed brow. But as the story deepened, his eyes widened. Now, just as the hero of the story was about to find out who murdered his father, Scheherazade stopped. She looked at the king. Mercy, my lord, but the sun is in the horizon. The king by now was intrigued and eager to find out what was going to happen. But he had no way of asking her to continue. So he had no choice. He decided that she would not be put to death that day. So Scheherazade got another day and another night. So when the next night came, she continued with her tale, weaving magic with every word. Her story gave rise to other stories. Again, she stopped at the height of suspense just before dawn. And again, the king spared her life. Night after night, tale after unfinished tale, she carried him across deserts and over oceans, through palaces and winding marketplaces, through laughter, tears, wisdom, and warning. Each tale was more intriguing than the last, filled with suspense, humor, and profound insights. The king found himself eagerly waiting for the next story, the next episode. And here, my friends, let me remind you, a good word is like a good tree. And Shehzade's words had planted a seed in the king's heart. And it was blooming. It was bearing fruit. And so it went on. She spoke of sailors who battled the sea, of merchants who sought fortune, of princes who lost kingdoms and then found another kingdom. With every story, the king's heart softened. His anger ebbed and his mistrust faded. He had trusted and then he had lost his trust. But now he started to see women not as enemies, but as companions, as daughters of wisdom, and as voices of truth. In the meanwhile, Shehzade bore him children. She gave him love, but most importantly, she gave him sight into his own soul. After 1001 nights, the king rose in the morning and he said, "Enough. No more shall I raise my sword against innocence. Shehzade, you have given me back my humility. You have saved me and this kingdom." And so they lived, not in cruelty, but in compassion, not in tyranny, but in trust. For as the Arabs say, wisdom is the lost treasure of the believer. Shahryar had found his treasure in Shehzade. And we, you and I, my friends, are still telling her stories, even here, even now. For this is the magic of Shehzade. Though the sands shift and kingdoms are lost, the power of story remains eternal. And as I end, my friends, may your nights be filled with stories and your hearts be softened by words. Thank you so much.
Okay, fantastic.
Yes, Bhavani.
Well, she really had confidence in her storytelling.
You know, Eric, that's one reason why I love this story. This is a woman who, against, she faces death, but she knows that she has this ability to convert a man who's tortured, who's actually very upset, and make him see reason through the magic of stories. So I love this story.
Yes, she helped him heal through helping to activate his imagination and his compassion for the characters.
True.
So she didn't just give him back his humility, she helped give him back his humanity.
Right.
I love this story. Love your story.
Thank you, Cindy.
That's the reason why I finally got to my dreams of being a children's storyteller right retired from my school system. And I have many friends that lives in India. They gave me encouragement to carry on. And I want to thank y'all for those beautiful stories. It put tears in my eyes when you told me about storytelling. It is very important. We all tell stories each and every day. Thank you for presenting this story because it gave me more encouragement to carry on. Thank you.
I also would like to say something. I am very, very, very impressed of the way you made. You could tell this story in a short way. in a very short way, because it's such a big story, and so I was really impressed of how you got the essence of the story and the frame of these stories. That I've also worked a lot of it. My first storytelling performances I was doing, it was called In the World of Fairy Tales, Anything is Possible. And I used to be like a Sherazade, so I was dancing and telling stories. So now I can really feel you, and that was great. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Really good to make this story the way you did it. I'm very
It's a challenging story to tell because really we don't have much sympathy for the king. That he's killed so many young women, that's unforgivable. So if we focus on that, it's hard for us to appreciate anything else. But the way you told it, the emphasis was not on the king; it was on Scheherazade's ability to humanize through art, and that I could appreciate and relate to, and I didn't have to focus so much on the king.
Thank you, Eric. Coming from you, that's a compliment.
But didn't you find it a little difficult to even utter the idea that the king could be forgiven, that he could be a decent person and a decent husband going forward?
Not at the beginning. But once the story unfolds, you can see that there is so much that's happening within him, and he's questioning himself. He questions her through her stories, and there is change happening. So yeah, people change, and he did for the better. Honestly, they were good people. It was just circumstances that made them bad. So bringing them back was a little easier for her.
But in terms of modern day justice and the legal system in most countries, once somebody commits murder or multiple murders, one has to be punished. But I guess in a fairy tale and in a land where there is a king, I guess maybe those ordinary laws don't apply.
True. Serial killer, says Vinita.
But I hadn't thought of that at all. The only thing I would imagine is one, the context in which it was written and created. Maybe they didn't have a modern justice system, but
That's
I don't know.
right.
Yeah.
True.
So it's difficult to leave one's own cultural standards behind and appreciate a story that was created out of a different culture.
True. At a different time also.
Anyone else? Any thoughts about the story? All right. No, go ahead, Nayana.
But I'm also thinking, just like you said, just like in the previous story, I was just thinking it could also, if you see the story as like where you have a fight in yourself about your bad demons and
yeah
finding good stories, healing stories to support your life to go forward, but still you have your bad demons, you have your bad habits and whatever that you have to fight with. That could also be a way to see
Yes.
the story.
I wanted to say thank you. The story gives me hope. And I have not looked at the stories in a long, long time. And you reminded me of the root of the story, of how the story begins. And it gave me so much hope that we can soften hearts and that even people who don't seem that they're growing and seem stopped and evil, that there's always a chance for imagination. So thank you. It gives me a lot of hope right now with what's happening in my country. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, and on the metaphorical level, the process of imagination and compassion, it can help with one's own healing, not just the healing of others. Wonderful.
Thank you so much. There were so many different perspectives, some of which I personally did not think of. But now I'm going to look at the story differently.
I'm really amazed by that character's confidence. So many storytellers, they have stage fright. They're afraid that they're afraid to get up in front of an audience. They're very nervous, but there was none of that in her. She knew she could do it. There's that line, I don't know if it's from Shakespeare or where, but music soothes the savage beast. And here, the storytelling was able to soothe the savage beast.
Excellent, correct.
Okay. Angela, are you ready? You got to turn your mic on.
Yeah.
Yes,
Hello.
and this is a change of pace. I think you are telling the only personal experience story today. So, and it's entitled Leo. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, let me magnify your image. Wait a moment. Yes. Please tell us about your work and please tell us a story.
Let me just. Oh,
I spotlighted you, but you not want do you not want to be spotlighted?
I just want to be able to see people. Yeah, go ahead. You can spotlight me. Yeah.
Okay, but if I'm spotlighting you, but if you like, you can. I think for yourself, you can go back to gallery view. Can you do it?
I've got it. Thank you so much.
Great.
Well, hello. My name is Angela Halvorsen Bogo, and I'm English, and I live in Norway, just outside the city of Oslo. And I have been a traditional storyteller for about 35 years. I came into storytelling in Scotland, where I was apprenticed in a way by Duncan Williamson, who was an indigenous Scottish traveller storyteller. And many of the stories that I tell come from him or come from that tradition. However, today I'm telling a different kind of story. For as long as I can remember, I have loved dogs. I had a dog. There was a dog already in the family when I was born, and his name was Hugo. He is a whole other story, but he was like the babysitter of all my mother's children. And so I was extremely close to him. And before I went to school, I could understand everything that he said. In fact, I could understand what all dogs said. And then I was told over and over again by my parents and by other adults, don't go near that dog you don't know, don't touch that dog. And probably the combination of that and the education system meant that I lost that clarity of communication with dogs. However, the love for dogs has always been with me. However, because I've traveled so much with my work as a storyteller, I haven't been able to have a dog of my own because I'm always going somewhere. And so I miss them. I miss the company of dogs. Earlier this year, I decided to see what it would be like to look after somebody else's dog who was going away for a month. And so I went to another country. I looked after this dog. It was fabulous. And I look forward to doing it again. Another opportunity came up in August where a couple were going away to get married in the country they were from, and they needed somebody to look after their dog for 2 weeks. And I thought, wonderful. It was the same breed as the first dog that I looked after. And I thought this would all be wonderful. But when I arrived at the house where the couple lived, where the dog lived, I was really, really worried and a bit shocked because it was a tiny, tiny apartment. And the windows of this apartment, of the living room, were quite high up. So it was quite dark in there. And the dog is a border collie. And border collies are dogs that are bred to herd sheep, to spend all day long running round in fields and working and solving problems. And they're extremely intelligent dogs, but they need a lot of exercise and they need a lot to do. And this dog, well, he was left in this flat on his own
for long periods of the day. And he only had one toy, which was a plastic bottle. And the owners said to me as they were leaving, don't worry if you haven't got time to take him out, 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes in the evening, and it'll be fine. And I was so shocked that this was how they were looking after this dog. He's quite young, he's under 2 years old. And they had got him rescued from some other situation. We don't know what even had happened to him then. So I gave an awful lot of time to the dog, whose name is Leo, a lot of time. Because I didn't know him well, I had him on the lead all the time, but he couldn't walk on the lead. He pulled me all the time. It was raining. He pulled me over slippery rocks and in the woods. And I thought, this isn't going to work. So then I found a dog park where I could take him so he could run around. And I would drive him to the dog park. And then he could run and run and run and play. And he loved to jump in puddles and get covered in mud. And he loved to rescue sticks from the puddles. So I would throw sticks into the puddle and he would wrestle the stick as though it was some kind of snake and pull it out of the puddle. And he had a lot of fun and he could burn off a lot of energy. So for 5 or 6 days, we were getting on fine. This was good. There was one thing about him which was a bit strange, is that every dog I've ever met, as soon as you put your coat on and look like you're going somewhere, the dog is at the door wanting to go for a walk. When I put my coat on, Leo would go and cower in a corner. He didn't come to the door. And I would say, we're going for a walk. Come, we're going for a walk. And I would do it in English, and I would do it in Norwegian, I would do it in Italian. The owners were Italian, and he still cowered. So I would have to go over to that corner of the room and put the lead over him in order to, and then he would go, oh, I see, we're going for a walk. And then he would come. And then one evening, we hadn't been out for a few hours. So I went over to the corner where he was laying down, and I went to put the loop around his neck, and he bit me. And I was so shocked. It was very painful. He broke the surface of the skin. And I sat down and I decided to do nothing for a while until I had calmed down. And then I went online to see what I was supposed to do. And it said, you need to wash it for 10 minutes with cold water to try and get any bacteria in there out. So I did that. And then I put some salve on, and then I put a bandage on. And then an hour went by, and I thought, well, we still haven't been for a walk and it's getting late. So I tried again, and nothing was doing. He wasn't up budging. So the trust that we'd built up had broken, and I didn't even know why this had happened. I went to bed. And then at 3 o'clock in the morning, he woke me up because now he needed to go out. I was like, I'm not going out at 3 o'clock in the morning. I went back to sleep. I got up at 6 with my pajamas on. I went outside. I still couldn't get the lead on him. So we walked outside without the lead. And he was fine. He was with me for a little bit. And then, it being that early in the morning, for the first time ever that I'd seen, there was a deer about 100 yards up the road, and he saw the deer and he was gone. He was off after the deer. And after about 10 minutes, he came back, and I still couldn't put the collar on him, get the lead on him. So we went back to the house, but it hadn't really been for a proper walk. And then I waited for 3 hours for him to be ready to go for a walk. I had my outdoor clothes on. I played with him. I talked with him. I groomed him. I fed him. I did everything that I could to build up his trust again. And finally was ready to go to the door, to go out. And he wouldn't let me put the lead on, and he ran off. And this time I couldn't get him. So I went calling his name all around the streets, no sign of him. I got in the car and I drove looking for him. And I drove everywhere I could think, and I couldn't find him. And then I realized that in Norway, I've never lost a dog, so I don't actually know what the process is. Do I ring the police? Do I ring somebody in particular? So I ended up ringing a dog kennel, which was close by, and they said the best thing is to go to where you think he will be and just keep shouting his name. When I stepped outside to go and do that, a neighbor said, "Did you lose a dog?" And I said, "Yes." She said, "We saw him earlier." She told him where he was gone. She said there was a woman who was calling him. We think he's in her house. So we walked to her house, and no, there was nobody in the house. And the thing was, I should tell you that the owners didn't have a collar for him. So I had bought him a collar, but he didn't have a name or a phone number on him, which is strange. In Norway, we never do that. We always have a phone number. But I'd never got round to writing my phone number on his collar. So nobody knew where I was. So the dog wasn't in this house. And so I went home and I looked up this woman's address and phone number, and rang her. And at first she didn't reply, but then eventually she replied, and she said, "He came to my house, but I had to go out. So I've taken him to my son's house. And he's there." So I went to her son's house. And on the way, I got another phone call. He's not at the son's house. He's gone to the mother-in-law's flat upstairs from there. So I went to the mother-in-law's flat. All of this was only 5 minutes from where I was staying. Knocked on the door. I was so relieved that he was there. Because in between, I told the owners what had happened in case they want to know what they wanted me to do. And they were furious with me that their dog had run off. And so when I found him, I sent them a video of him straight away so they could see he was safe. And he had actually been fine and safe with various people from 5 minutes after he'd run out of the house. But because he didn't have the phone number on, nobody knew where he was. I took him back. He was completely happy. He was fine. But the owners now didn't trust me. And so they wanted me to take him to the kennel just in the woods, not far away, which meant that he would be in a cement cell on his own, apart from 3 times a day when he could go and run around with the other dogs. And it's not where I would have put a traumatized dog, but I couldn't do anything about it. I had to take him there, and I had to say goodbye to him. And I then spent the next day trying to get a tetanus injection because I'd had no tetanus protection in my system. That took 7 hours to wait for. And I then went home, and it took about a week for me to recover from the whole thing, because I was so shocked by this dog's response and felt very naive that I had taken on looking after this dog without realizing the circumstances he was living in or how they looked after him. And I was also upset because of so many dogs that are left alone for hours and hours, that are not cared for properly. And that dog, if they don't do something, will become very damaged because he's not the right breed to leave alone with nothing to play with. Yeah. And so it took some time. And then I'm thinking, I don't know if I can look after other people's dogs again. And then someone asked me to look after another dog over Christmas. And this time I thought, I'm going to go there, I'm going to meet them, I'm going to see the house, and I'm going to interrogate the people and find out how they care for their dog before I agree to look after him. So this story is dedicated to Leo. If we could just send some love towards Leo, that he gets what he needs, and for all dogs that for no fault of their own are living in the wrong circumstances. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So you finally got the tetanus shot.
I got the tetanus shot. Unfortunately, without my permission, they also gave me 3 other vaccines. And as I am somebody who's been adversely impacted by the corona vaccine, I've been my energy's been very affected for 2.5 years. I was not happy to get vaccines that I hadn't even asked for. But so far, I seem to be all right.
And the tetanus shot is just one shot?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for agreeing to tell a story tonight, even though this has been going on. Diana?
Yeah, thank you so much. I have a dog I've had for 14 years, and I'm more like dog and he's more like a person because we do understand each other. But I did once something similar. I watched 2 dogs in someone's house and I didn't know them and they ran off. And the feeling is awful. It's like you think they're dead. You think you're never going to see them, and it's a terrible feeling.
Yeah.
So it's a warning for all of us to know that dogs are just like people. They have feelings and they have needs. And it's a good thing to know if you're going to step in as a surrogate parent, to know as much as you can. And I love the way you told the story. I was with you every single second. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
You were very aware of these warning signs that not only that his owners were keeping him, it was a male dog?
Yeah.
Yeah, Leo. His owners were keeping him indoors so much of the time, not taking him out very much, and also that very telling detail that he would cower off on the side instead of running to the door when he would see that you were ready to take him. That really, that indicates maybe he suffered some other abuse even before he came to live with the people he was living with.
Yeah.
I had a dog who ran away also. What, 60 years ago, back in New York City. Me and my sister found a dog outside and begged our parents to let us keep him. And we kept him for a number of years. We called him Lucky because he was lucky that we found him. He had black fur and a white belly and white paws. But then we were moving. We had to move just a few streets away from where we lived. And in the process of the moving people taking things out of one apartment, he ran out the door. I think he panicked because he saw things were being taken out. So he was afraid he was going to be left behind or something. And my mother was home, but he ran out the door, and just like you, she went searching for him up and down. But unlike you, she was not able to find him. So we didn't blame my mother because we understood it was out of her control, but it was sad.
Yeah, border collies are there are about 6 breeds of dog that are most problematic, that people get them as pets, but they don't know what they actually need, and border collies are one of them. So if you think about getting, because they're so beautiful and they're so clever, but you need to have the right setup for a dog like that.
And Leo is a border, is that kind of dog?
Yeah.
Well, I'm so sorry that he misunderstood and that he panicked like that and he bit you. But at least you got him back safe and sound, and his owners are they still angry at you, or they don't have any appreciation for you?
Not really. I wrote them quite a letter when I left the house. I told them how much time. Basically, I went there to do some writing, thinking that I would walk the dog and be with him some of the time. But I actually gave nearly all my time to him, and I didn't get my own work done. But there was yeah, I learned from it. I learned from it.
Just that how careful one has to be.
Yeah, that you have to ask a lot of questions. I think my enthusiasm for wanting to be with dogs overruled my good sense.
Diana?
Yeah, hi. I put a book in the chat. I wasn't going to talk about it, but it's based on this. It's about how we understand nature and other beings in the world. It's part of it is in Chennai, and it's about water and about nature. And it's called "Is a River Alive?" And I was going to send it to Eric anyway, because a lot of it is in Chennai about the waterways. And I learned so much. And the author, McFarland, he also has an auditory book. I found it easier to listen, but he's from England and he wrote about 3 rivers, but he also says that the rivers are connected to all kinds of life. So there's all kinds of beautiful stories in it. And I think we all learned from your story to be more respectful of dogs. So thank you.
Yeah.
Dogs are, have been domesticated for thousands of years, but basically they're still wild animals.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to share a thought?
I actually heard a story in the church this weekend. The priest were saying something about that in old pictures you could see dogs with wings, like they were angels, like they were trustful, worthy friends. And that was, I was very happy to hear that. I've never heard about that symbol, but she told, I don't know where she saw the picture, I don't remember that, but anyway, to hear like angels talking about friend, like a good friend, trustful friends, and so she was talking about the dog. And I'm actually also thinking about during Corona, so many people here in Sweden were bringing dogs to their home because now they had the time. And I've also been thinking of it, but it's this thinking you have to think, what kind of a dog can I manage? What dog suits me?
Yes.
What suits my home, my environmental? There's so many things to think about. And actually, I'm just thinking about both this summer with some relatives in Greece that have something like Siberian Huskies, but also in India. I've seen many people having like Siberian Huskies, which are hard-working dogs in the snow. That's what, and they are in the heat. So there's a lot of. They must have a heavy bill for for the electricity in the home, for the air condition. But anyway, that is also, I mean, India is a way, as I see it, they love their dogs. There are so many people really fighting for to respect the dogs. But then I think of this, maybe there should be all over the world, when you take an animal like a dog, does it suit the environment? Like dogs who are used to be in snow, it's very hard for them to be in the heat.
Okay, all right.
Anyway, that was just a thought, but like I know very much about this this dog that you are talking about, Angela. They really need hard work and they want everybody to be together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much.
Yes. Marina?
Yes.
Yeah, Marina, thank you for your story. I think it's applicable not just to dogs, to all pets. We have a cat. I used to have a dog earlier when I was in India. We have a cat now, and we joke about how cats do not live on cat food alone, because sometimes there's food there, but he wants to come and sit on our laps and wants us to caress him and, scratch him under on his neck and his belly and play with us, because they want that affection. He's a tuxedo cat, okay?
Yes.
And very playful, and he wants to go out a lot because they're nocturnal animals. It goes out at night, comes when he wants, but he needs that freedom of his. And so with our dog, it was the same thing. He'd come and he'd want to sit near us. If we were sitting as a family to say prayers or something, he'd come and sit next to us, wanted to feel part of the family. So that vibe must be there, where you feel you're giving them the affection that they need and deserve, and the respect, as somebody mentioned. So thank you. It's a very empathetic story.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we're near the end. Let me stop the recording.